Hello and welcome to GG Weekend Watch with myself, Kate Tracey, alongside Andrew, Matt and Dave Young. Now, hopefully you enjoyed the fancy new graphics last week. We have plenty more fancy new graphics for you this week as well. And we also have loads of Christmas content coming your way in the next few weeks. So make sure to subscribe even. Also hit the bell notification so you never miss an episode if you are on YouTube watching this, because as I say, we have so much to bring you. And on this week's show, we have 8 live races on ITV Racing, with the action coming from Sandown and Aintree, the headline events being the Grade 1 at Tingle Creek, as well as the Grade 1 Henry VIII Novices Chase and Rover, the big ones at Aintree with the Beach Chase. They're really excited to get the lads' thoughts on these. Now, looking back to last week's results, of course, we just had the 6 races, and poor Andrew had 2 fallers in that time and a non-runner. So I don't feel that we can really go into Andrew's results all that much.
Yeah, I think those were my best results. And don't mention the fact that I thought that the Mullins Beast in the Fighting Fifth was good value at 7-2 on to beat the 2 Rats. So he had literally no more excuses there. I know it's only his 5th ever start, but I know that was so frustrating, because you just thought, well, the 2 main protagonists are gone now. Sure, Amsterdam's going to go on and win this, and anyway, but yeah, so frustrating day then for Andrew. Dave fared well with Friendship winning. Amsterdam, of course, as we just said, finished 2nd. Indemnity ran a really good race to finish 3rd, and then Jasmine de Grugy finishing 4th, and Doyen de Bar finishing 3rd at 7-2 as well. So tricky weekend last weekend. Hopefully we will have more success this weekend. And we begin with the 120 at Sandown Pertemps Network Handicap Hurdle Qualifier. Pertemps Word, there it is, 4-year-olds and older over 2 miles 7. And just to add further intrigue to this race, it's 9-2 the field, Dave. So Pertemps, we're back with it, and the market doesn't even know.
No, it doesn't. And we've got it's a nice race. Sandown, I feel like this fixture, we'll come on to it in some of the other races. It's like, I guess, habitual horses that come to this track seem to do well, but it's the same with trainers as well, to be fair. We've got a few trainers in here that have won the last 4 and all. So Hobbs had a couple of them, Paul Nicholls has had one, and Tom Lacey, and they're sort of amongst a number of horses. We've got 10 runners in here, haven't we? And most of them are single figure prices, bar 2. So it does make it tricky to try and have confidence, I guess, in any one of the selections. I wasn't overly complimentary of Kiki Joe prior to his win at Cheltenham last time out. I thought it looked a little bit like a stepping stone to a bigger target. This may have been that target, and maybe that stepping stone just went through his way and he still managed to win the race. So he's interested in here. It's also interesting when looking at the patterns of this race that 7 of the last 10 winners have been ridden by a claiming jockey. He's one of, I think it's just 2 in this race that's been ridden by a claimer. So prominent towards the market, syndicate type horse. Philip Hobbs, obviously, when he gets these handicap improvers, they seem to be improving at a rate or not. So Kiki Joe's probably a rightful favourite. You can understand why he's towards the front of it as well. There's a couple that were a bit interesting as well, like the Lord Maid for Tom Lacey. She was I think she's a pretty decent mare. She was 3rd behind him post-while, which looks like relatively good form now. She made a bad mistake, but Chasing Fire was also in that race. He ran with great credit, just splitting the pair. He does have course form here, and it's winning course form too. So I think that's quite important. And he does handle all types of ground as well. So there's bits of rain about. Sandown typically is a bit softer than they always describe it as. So I think he's going to be fine on the ground, whereas a couple of them might not be. And we've had a number of winners in this race recently as well that have been 7 and 8-year-olds. So things like Kiki Joe being a 5-year-old potentially progressive horse at the front of the market, he could progress past the likes of a Chasing Fire. But Chasing Fire is a pretty solid yardstick, considering he's had, I think, 9 hurdle races. He's finished 1st in 4 of them. I think 3 other races he's finished in the top 3 as well. So where he's in as an 11-2 sort of vying for favouritism, but 2nd favourite at the moment, when there's 3 places up for grabs for a horse that loves it round here, and I think it's got that good form behind him, Pose d'Etoile, he feels like the right type of horse to be on in this race. But there's loads more I could mention. Even Absolutely Doyen for Nicholls and Harry Cobden was pretty good last time out, 3 from 3 since joining the yard. Not often we'd say that Paul Nicholls is going to get a horse from another yard that he improves, but seems to have done that with Absolutely Doyen. There's loads of horses with chance in it, but I think the most solid case I can make is for Chasing Fire, and I'm hoping that previous course form at Sandown is going to serve me well on Saturday.
Yeah, Chasing Fire currently priced up at 11-2 for that really informed combination. When have they not been informed? Ollie Murphy and Sean Bowen. Andrew, Potemps coming at you.
Yeah, interesting stat regarding jockeys claiming an allowance here. 7 of the last 10 winners of this race have jockey claiming at least £3. Only 30 qualifiers in that time frame. So 7 winners, 30 bets, profit of £28 to £1 level stake at SP, almost £41 at Betfair SP after 2% commission. 3 qualifiers at the moment, although jockey bookings can change, of course. Kinky Joe, who may have been flattered by racing wide when winning at Cheltenham last time, and was assisted by the Dan Skelton non-jigger on the inside, Supremely West, alleged non-jigger who Harry Skelton suddenly forgot where the best ground was, whereas his well-backed stablemate Prince Zaltar, who finished second, knew exactly where the best ground was. I wouldn't, so maybe it was a shade flat at Kinky Joe. Lavender Hill Mob was another one who was helped by racing wide when winning at Cheltenham last time, although he is open to improvement over this trip. Only a 4-year-old. Not many of that age group have turned up in this race, I don't think. So the other one I've come down on the side of is Turnthelightsdownlow, ridden by Freddie Keithley, claiming 7 for his dad on a hat trick. And looks progressive. Very impressive the last twice. Winning by a combined margin of 18.5 lengths. It's 2 from 2 in handicap hurdle company now. The ground's probably going to be the softest he's encountered under rules, but I'll take a chance on him around about 7-1.
Yes, 7-1 is the price that I can see about him there as well, bidding for that hat trick. Onto the 150 now, again at Sandown, the grade 1 Henry VIII novices chase 4-year-olds and older over her mile 7. Lulamba, hot pot as he has been throughout the week at 8-11. So we pretty much knew the lineup of this, minus maybe a couple of entries. So we're down to a field of 4 here, but Lulamba's price has stayed the same at 8-11. So again, Andrew, we've got another grade 1 with a small runner field to go out on Saturday. So how are you playing it?
Yeah, this race tends not to attract a big field. The last 10 years, we only have 53 runners, just over 5 runners per race on average. Funnily enough, you could have backed every single runner in this race in the last decade and made a profit of £22.87, over 43% on turnover. So you do get the occasional shock. Last time out finishing position has been a good pointer. 9 of the winners won last time out. Back every qualifier, all 37 of them, you made a profit of over 33 quid. The only exception finished second in a grade 2. And those stepping up in class from class 3 level have done well. If you just backed horses who won in class 3 company last time, 7 winners from 19 bets and a huge profit at SP of £48.18. 2 qualifiers, Lump Sum and Lulamba. I'm going to go with Lulamba, despite him being the shortest of the pair. And won comfortably in the end at Exeter last time out. But he wasn't quite as taking as Lump Sum's Utoxeter verdict over Jacks Jr. because he's won at Kempton since. But I don't think he's repeated a win. He has sort of gone back to back previously. But I respect Lump Sum. But I'll go Lulamba. And I'd certainly do the forecast on the pair as well. I think Be Aware, having started life over fences and handicap company and being beaten last time out, is the one to take on. Al Nalam, like Be Aware, ran at Cheltenham last time. Cheltenham preps have not been a good pointer to this race, and that was a class 2, which is a negative. So Lulamba Lump Sum forecast.
Yeah, for that forecast then. So, Be Aware and Lump Sum currently both priced up at 9-2 at the time of recording. So the Lulamba Lump Sum way is the way to go for Andrew. Dave, how are you playing it?
I'm not entirely sure at the moment, to be fair. Just interestingly, on the without Lulamba market, Lump Sum and Be Aware, you mentioned they're both about 9-2. They're both 6-4 in the without market for Lulamba as well. So that might be a way to look at the race, because you don't always have to have a bet in the races, do you? But this is one that I feel like, with the Henry VIII Novices Chase and the Tingle Creek itself, I feel like there's been historically quite a good balance of favourite doubles across the 2 of them, even just for some sort of like small interest. I did quickly run the numbers on that before we did the recording. This century, there's been a few races that have been rescheduled to being away from Sandown, and a couple of the Novice Chase that's been missed. But of all the completed ones, there's 22 opportunities to back the favourite in this, favourite in the Tingle Creek. You've had £4.80 profit from the 22, so it's about a 22% return on investment. So Lulamba is the class horse in the race, isn't he? Well, I say potentially, but he's already shown it. My concern with Lulamba was what he did pre-race last time out, and I know obviously he got away with it and he won the race nicely and he got the job done. But I didn't like his pre-race antics. Be Aware's another horse that maybe not so much pre-race, but he does mess about as well. I feel like Lulamba and Be Aware could wind each other up before this race goes off. So I'd probably hold fire before I played anything in this race to see how they get on at the start of it. But there's a question mark as to whether Lulamba would even need the weight for age allowance that he gets in here. But if you consider that he gets that £6 because he needs it, on ratings, there's only half a stone between this entire field. So it wouldn't be the biggest shock in the world for Lulamba to not go and win this race, but he's the right favourite. I think he will win. I think if I was going to have a bet in here, I wouldn't want to play him straight up. I might stick him in the double with Ilese Thompson later, which we'll come on to in the Tingle Creek. That's not necessarily a spoiler alert, but probably is a little bit. And then Be Aware 6-4 without the favourite. But look, like Andrew's talked about there are reasons to take on Be Aware in here. He quite likes lump sum as maybe an opportunity to go against Lulamba. So they're priced about where they should be. I don't feel like I can find a huge amount of value in this race, but I do think Be Aware should be respected after that run behind July Flower last time out. A couple of fences were omitted there, and I thought his jumping was pretty good. I feel like if Lulamba was to fluff his lines, Be Aware is the one that would take advantage of it. But for the sake of a selection, I'd say I'll back Be Aware without, but like I say, I might just do this like a small stakes on the double across the two of them. But more than anything, I'm just excited to watch this one.
Yeah. And as you said in that as well, that not every single race has to be a betting race for all that. Those without markets are very appealing. 6-4 about the pair of Be Aware and lump sum in the without market, without Lulamba, but he does look a very good thing. And you make the good case there as well about him getting the £6 weight for age allowance. Yet he is still, even at this age, rated higher than his rivals. So, yeah, tell you weigh all of those up, but still a fascinating novices chase. 205 at Aintree up next, the Wirral, or Wirral, I should call it. The long debate, is it the Wirral or Wirral? Juvenile hurdle, listed contest for the 3-year-olds over 2 mile 1 furlongs. 13-8 the field. Treasure Planet it is who heads away in this one, Dave.
Yeah, I'd say we should say it's the Wirral, because otherwise it sounds like we're saying Wirral Juvenile, which probably is also.
Well, what a point.
But this is a good. I think it's a good looking race. I think it's much more informative than it would be a betting heat from my perspective. Edilac's the real unknown quantity in here for Dan Skelton. The horse won the first time in headgear, but it was at the 5th time of asking to win. That was formerly on the flat for Johnny Murtagh. Achieved an official rating of 86 after that. I think was given 87 before won the race. That was in the summer. Like loosely, you could probably say that you might expect a horse on the flat from their figure to maybe run like £50 higher, so like a 1/360 type horse. But it's going to take time for a horse to get to that position. However, we know how adept Dan Skelton is at getting a horse ready first time up, especially when he gets horses from other yards. He seems to be able to find bits of improvement for them. So I think he's really interesting. He's priced at 5-2, but we've just not seen him. So I don't know how I can really balance him up, other than the fact that I'm not sure the rest of the field are up to that much. Talking about the flat ratings, Scarlet Moon's another ex-flat horse, was rated 82. That's got hurdling experience as well. I'd probably say that horse would be a bit disappointing to be winning to be the best horse in this race, because has an official rating of 109. So where I said you can put a few pounds on from the flat to the jumps race, it doesn't always quite work out like that. And Treasure Planet for Paul Nicholls. Now, he's a trainer that not necessarily does get the best out of his horses first time up, but he was so bad at Chepstow. That really does concern me when he's like a 13-8 favourite in here. Was much better last time out. I think it was at Ludlow. I think Aintree's a track that would suit him much more than Chepstow would. So he's probably the sort of obvious one in here, but then he is the favourite, so that's obvious enough. Edilec would be the obvious danger, but we haven't really got anything to go by on there. So I think I'm going to have to use a free pass on this one. After talk about the last race being a race you don't necessarily have to bet in, but trying to force a way in, I don't think I could split between Treasure Planet and Edilec with any real sort of reasoning, I guess. So it'll be a no-bet race for me, but I'm keen to see how the both of them get on. I'm hoping one of them absolutely slams up.
Yes, yeah, out of those two, but like you say, when the price isn't quite there to help you decide and make that further judgment, sit it out. Always gamble responsibly. So Dave's going to sit this one out from a betting perspective. Andrew, are you likewise, or have you got an opinion?
No, I'll go with the record of Paul Nicholls in this race. 4 wins in it recently. Treasure Planet needed the run badly, like a lot from the yard at that Chepstow meeting in mid-October. He made a few jumping errors as well. He jumped better when bolting up at Ludlow, didn't enjoy the right-handed track, hung to his left, jumped to his left. Going this way round is going to help. Ground's going to be softer than he's encountered, but I'll take his experience over that of Edelac. So yeah, Treasure Planet for me.
Treasure Planet 13-8 currently heading the way for that Paul Nicholls record in the race. Now the 225 at Sandown is up next. 0 to 50 handicap hurdle, 3-year-olds and older over 2 miles. Knickerbockerglory heads the way with that course and distance winning form to his name. 11 to 4 the field in this one, Andrew.
Knickerbockerglory again. Got a good record on his seasonal debuts. He's won on his last 3, including this race 12 months ago when rated £6 higher. He's a fame and glory. You know that I've got a theory about them getting better with age, and he's a 9-year-old now, so I don't think he's stopped improving. And he looks to have been laid out for this again. I know he's favourite, but he's got a lot more going for him than some of these. You know, Go Dante seems to come to hand in March. Affodil's a month earlier in February, usually in the Scottish County Hurdle at Musselburgh. Katira, she's better in Mares Only Company and might just be in here to keep the weights down for her shorter price stablemate. Metier's back over hurdles for the first time in 637 days, although has had a spin on the flat. Goshen is Goshen. There's a couple of interesting ones at bigger prices. Honky Tonk Highway. It's 2 from 2 on right-handed tracks, both wins coming here at Sandown. So although he pulled up at Bangor on his return to action last month, maybe coming back to this venue will help him. He's another stablemate of the favourite. And Lastro Boy for Inform Evan Williams. He was a 16 to 1 second in a Tolworth hurdle and heavy ground over course and distance. And but he has been off for 993 days, but a little bit of a nibble for that one. Gavin Sheehan on board as well. So I'll go Knickerbockerglory, and I sort of like sort of maybe a Honky Tonk Highway to chase home this stablemate. Glimbray is interesting as well. He remains open to improvement on right-handed tracks. He's second favourite though. This sort of early 7s has disappeared, and he did appreciate going right-handed when winning here last time out. He's often jumped out to his right when racing left-handed, which he's he only ever raced left-handed. They finally cottoned on to the fact, all right, we've got a horse who jumps out to his right. Maybe we won't run him left-handed this time, and that seemed to work. So Knickerbockerglory for me, and maybe Honky Tonk Highway at a big price.
These Dan Skelton horses, their names are just, Honky Tonk Highway and Knickerbockerglory. He's also got the other horse in there as well, Katira. Far too straightforward of a name for her. But Dan Skelton's mob-handed in this one, Dave.
Yeah, I feel like Andrew's sort of summed this race up quite nicely. I think Knickerbockerglory is definitely the right place to start. Harry Skelton taking the ride. You wouldn't think he's going to be wanting to not be on the best of the trio that they've got in here. But you can make cases for the other 2 that Dan Skelton's got. Honky Tonk Highway, like Andrew says, course and distance winner a couple of times, I think. Even with Katira, when you go back, obviously beating Golden Ace at Wetherby at the start of the season when Golden Ace wasn't obviously, I say obviously okay, but probably wasn't running at her best. There was a line through it. I think she came out with a bit of dirty scope and then was the beneficiary last time out. But there's bits of form for Katira that suggest that she can run well with a £7 claim on there. But I do think all the arrows point towards Knickerbockerglory again. There's a bit of rain that's dotted about. Like Andrew said, very good first time up. So I think the obvious selection of the race should be that one. But I'd just like to echo Andrew's sentiment. There's definitely some big prices that they can definitely fill the frame anyway, because obviously you only have one winner. But even from a place body type perspective, I know Goshen is Goshen, but if they keep persisting with him, it's got to be for some sort of reason. And this is basically his back garden, isn't it? So Goshen, when he was so good before his triumph at Sandown, who knows? This would be a nice place for him to retire if they finally get another win and just stop the game with him, maybe. Metier in the past, I know he's had a couple of flat spins, but hasn't jumped for ages. He's got potential back in some of his old form. Honky Tonk Highway, we've already talked about. Lastro Boy, Andrews talked about some of that old, really good back form. I mean, horses like Nami and Lime were behind, and even Colonel Harry. There's some good form that's lined up in there. So I think there could definitely be some at big prices that fill the frame. I don't think everything will go towards the front of the market, but I am hoping that the market is correct, that Knickerbockerglory is going to be the first one home.
There you go, Knickerbockerglory as well then for Dave. I'm glad that he gave Goshen, the shout out though, because I was just waiting. I was like, surely one of these 2 is going to just at least token gesture mention him at some point. But yeah, he's just everyone's pet, isn't he, at this point? He's now a 9-year-old. To be honest, it feels like he should be even older than that. So hopefully he can run a good race, the older boy. Right, 240 now at Aintree, the Beecher handicap chase, a premier handicap for the 6-year-olds and older over 3 mile 2. 5 to on the field, Mr. Vango, who I believe has got some new owners involved with his current ownership partnership, as well as he makes his bid, obviously, to eventually get to the Grand National then in time. He heads away at 5-1 at the field, Dave.
Yeah, a good race, to be fair. There's lots of like popular names in there. There's a few horses that I've got a bit of an affinity with in this particular discipline. Wouldn't be my strongest suit to be playing in, to be fair. I've done a cheat sheet for GG as well, which I guess we'll get a link put up somewhere with that one as well. But off the profile of that, we get mostly 8 or 9 year olds that will win this race. Favourites, to be fair, do perform well to a level stake, but we'll brush past that one because I don't fancy Mr. Van Gogh. They want to be carrying 10 stone, 12 or less. That's the main reason why I don't fancy Mr. Van Gogh off the big hefty weight. He's rated 142 or below. A big bonus point if you finished second last time out, and then last ran between 16 and 30 days ago seems to be a prevalent stat within here. Something on the headgear that's a bit interesting. I can't find a winner that's won in blinkers. I think a few horses have won in cheap pieces, and a number of those that have won in cheap pieces have been first time out. Using those boxes to sort of whittle things down a little bit, there's a trio of runners that really came towards the forefront. Mahon's Glory's one of them at 33-1, but he doesn't stay, so I'd have to just put a big line for him immediately. GambleAware or GambleAware, whichever way we're going to say it, drop in the comments below with how you'd pronounce it, just by spelling his name, please. But he wears blinkers here, which is the one bit that puts me off him slightly, but you can't use headgear for if it's suitable to a horse to be a real reason to knock back a horse in a race like this, I don't think. Was really good last time out. This discipline's exactly where the horse seems to shine. Ran in that Grand Sefton last year and then went to Doncaster after, and really disappointed at Doncaster. But I feel like running in that race and then coming into this over a trip that the horse probably does stay. He's won over 3 miles, 1.5 before. I think he just looks like this is his discipline. He's carrying a nice low weight in there, and I think 6-1 about him is more than fair. Excello is another horse that ticks most of the boxes. Now, has never been a 6-year-old winner of this race. There's been a few that have tried, and a few favourites have tried as well, but there's been a few places amongst them. I don't think there's enough in there to say that he couldn't win, being the age that he is. I guess my only question mark around him is really about his stamina, but he's twice the price of GambleAware, so I feel like that's probably fair. There's compensation in there. But I do think that GambleAware is the most likely winner of the race, not even just because of ticking those boxes on the trends, but I think that form from last time out looks good. We know that he's good at this discipline and this distance. I think 6-1 about him looks more than fair, especially when there's 4 places up for grabs.
Yes, with those places on offer as well. Yeah, so we've got 13 runners to go at in here, so extra places, do watch out for that. Yeah, I go GambleAware because Sam Boswell puts him up every single time he runs, it feels like, and he pronounces his name differently every single time, so I've like made it my sort of mission just to always have his name ready in my head to go at. Andrew, who are you siding with in the Beecher?
Yeah, I'm going to go Western in the Park. There's several I can give a chance to. Those low down the weights, as Dave's pointed out, generally do well. You back all those who were 10th or lower in the weights. You'd have found 8 winners from 88 bets and a profit of 22 quid. It's not been a good race for Irish trainers. I don't we represented. Yeah, there's a sort of 0 from 34, which is a bit of a worry for the Gavin Cromwell runner, Bioluminescence. And yeah, distance last time out, those who prepped over 2 miles 7 or shorter have got a poor record, 0 from 23. Running style is interesting as well, because since they made these fences very flimsy compared to yesteryear, it's been a good race, a better race for hold-up horses. It used to be on the Grand National Course to stay out of trouble from all the fallers. You needed to be prominent or make the running. Not so much now. Look at the Grand Sefton the other week, and the first 3 home all came from off the pace. And so yeah, do consider that angle as well. What I was looking at was Western in the Park. I like that Carlisle prep behind Sound and Fury on the 2nd of November. Where the winner was up with the pace, Ben Pauling's Sound and Fury, and yeah, Western in the Park. It did start as favourite, but he was ridden from midfield and came there to finish 4th, only beaten 5 lengths, and weakened in the style of a horse who was in need of the run. Gallia des Lito was 5th in that race under a similar ride as well, and that looked like a prep for him as well. So is that pair, Gallia des Lito and Western in the Park, that I was interested in, with for the Ollie Murphy runner being bigger than the Dan Skelton one. I thought that was the way to go, but I'll certainly do the reverse forecast given they finished next to each other at Carlisle last time. So that was the angle I was looking at. GambleAware I did quite like for the Sefton last time, but he's more of a sort of place pot monkey. He, he's got a good record here at Aintree. I think he's had 3 goes over these fences. Second at 18-1, third at 10-1, and unseated his rider when looking like he might place, albeit with some way out. So yeah, so Gambo right for the Gaborio for the place pot, and Western in the Park in Gallia des Lito for a 1-2.
For the 1-2 in the beach, yeah, Gallia del Lito 13-2, Gaborio, just for what we were talking about there, for the place spot 13-2, and Western in the Park, the bigger price, as Andrew said, there at 9-1. We finally got a race over the Irish then, so we finally have it. It comes in the form of the Beecher. Who would have thought that? But yeah, so do watch out for that angle with Bioluminescence for Gavin Cromwell and also Royal Marge for Patrick Griffin. Right, the 3 o'clock at Sandown, Grade 1, Tingle Creek Chase, 4-year-olds and older, over a mile 7. Il était temps, a horse. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but I've ridden him. So I hope that he goes really well here. Good old Tommy. 10-11 favourite in this one. And again, we have a smaller runner field. We've got one more runner than the novices version with 5, though, in this one, Andrew. So who wins?
Yeah, very good question. Good race this. And yeah, Il était temps, of course, won easily from Jonbon over course and distance, reappeared with a 2 mile 5 win. Recently, 7 horses have prepped over 2 miles 3 or further, and they've all gotten beaten. That's in the last 10 renewals. But if you go back further, it's not been such a negative stat. But it is a sort of slight concern that a horse can win over that far in the mud, and then sort of drop back and trip and be effective. Perhaps not the ideal prep. So again, Jonbon, first time cheap pieces. That took me by surprise. Yeah, just looking at the record of sort of Henderson's runners in this headgear, this century chases 12 from 70, minus £29.82 to a £1 level stake. I think with Henderson it tends to be favourites have done all right in cheap pieces. Yeah, he's had 13 favourites in first-time cheap pieces, 8 winners from 13 runners, £9.58 profit to £1 stake. But I don't think Jonbon's going to be the market leader, so I'd take him on in the headgear. So just at the prices, I think it's a 2-horse race. I'll go Lotus Sud, who slaughtered Jonbon by 15 lengths last time out. Because Jonbon would have been third in that race had Matata stood up, and yeah, I think he's going to be absolutely fine with the softer ground. He's obviously got the course form, having won the Henry VIII last season. So yeah, Lotus Sud for me to continue his progression.
Lotus Sud 11-4, and again, he of course has that course and distance winning form to his name as well to uphold that form. With Jonbon is Andrew's angle. Dave, what's yours?
It's hard, this race, because I want to make a case for Jonbon, but the more I look at it, the more I struggled, and the application of cheap pieces definitely concerns me. This is the nice thing about the statty type stuff. There's loads of different ways you can look at it. Could potentially sound favourable, as Andrew's touched on there, make him into a favourite. But if you just look at Nicky Henderson runners the last decade having a run in a grade 1 or a grade 1 where they're wearing first time cheap pieces, as Jonbon is, he's 0 from 11, so that's a bit of a concern. A lot of those horses, to be fair to them, they were at the end of the season, pretty much from Cheltenham onwards. There's a horse that went at Aintree and some at Punchestown as well. Altior was one of the horses that got beat in first time cheap pieces in the celebration chase here. Santini got beat in a Gold Cup though, a neck by Album Photo, so it's not necessarily the be all and end all that it can't be done, but it is not a positive stat. Of those horses that have displaced as well, loads of them have been massive prices. So when you actually look at those figures, as much as it sounds terrible that he's 0 from 11, the expected number of winners in terms of implied chance at SP is 0.9. So we're not even due to have a winner yet. So maybe Jonbon is that winner that's in waiting. As Andrew touched on though, if Matata would have not made the massive mistake last time out, he probably would have finished 3rd, which would have blemished his string of 1s and 2s. But there is more than enough compensation in his price at 4-1, isn't there? Feel like he's on the cusp of leaving his legacy now as just a bad jumper, and he's never going to really fulfill the promise because he can't do it at Cheltenham. And obviously, while Sandown's always been that safe haven for him to show that he is a really classy horse, Il était temps battered him last time, and I don't know, it's difficult to expect him not to do that again. You can try and pick holes in Ilete Tomps for the fact that he's got a phenomenal record off of massive layoffs. So last year it was his first one in almost a year, so even more impressive to do what he did, I suppose. But some horses do go well for right. Won that Clonmel this season off of like a near 190-day break, I think it was. If you look at all those massive breaks, he's done really well. But if you look at all these completed seasons where he's had multiple runs, he's never won second time up. So it's probably clutching at straws. You also go back to his Arkle where he got beat by Gaelic Warrior, and you can think, well, if he's that good as a 2-miler, he should have been winning an Arkle. But he made a couple of really bad mistakes. And in hindsight, if you watch that one back, he ran really well. Then if you go a little bit further back, when he got beat by Gaelic Warrior before over the middle trip on heavy ground, it's that infamous finish, wasn't it, after the line where Patrick turned around and gave Danny Mullins the waggy finger in his face because he went up the inside of him on there. But you shouldn't really be able to beat Gaelic Warrior over 2.5 miles in the mud when he's favourite for a King George if you're a proper out-and-out 2-miler. So I get what Andrew says about the prep run being in that Clonmel over a trip too far. I remember the Clonmel being a race where Douvan came back after massive layoff, didn't he? And that ties us in with Jonbon again, with them being siblings. But I think Ilete Tomps is the new 2-miler, like the new kid on the block. With the fact that Paul Townend's also opting to come over to ride. I know it didn't quite work out with Amsterdam last week, but there are some good races over in Navan this weekend. He's coming over for this ride and this ride only. I think that speaks volumes for the chance. I know his price is short. He's a favourite in here, but favourites seem to do okay in this race. I think it's one of those clashes, isn't it? Lodestood was very good last time out, has got the form from last season. I guess you look at it like a coin flip, aren't you? You're either Team Ilete Tomps, or you can have Lodestood and Jonbon together against him. That sounds quite appetising, but I do think that Ilete Tomps is the most likely winner of the race, even if his price is probably a little bit tight. So maybe he'll drift. Anything odds odds against for Ilete Tomps, I think is going to look generous.
Yeah, anything odds against there. So really well explained about Ilete Tom. But you know what the real angle was, though, for why he got beaten in the Arkle that year is because of Tracey's amazing record for managing to get horses beaten that she rides out in the morning before they go on to win Grade 1s on their next start. It's uncanny now. Ilete Tom was one. Mercia was my one from a year just gone. Managed to get her beaten in the Fred Winter. Then she goes and wins the Grade 1 4-year-old hurdle at Aintree. And Dino Blue, I managed to get her beaten in a Grand Annual. And of course, she's an absolute worldie now. So yeah, he's part of my, well, they're just 3 that I can think of off the top of my head that I managed to get beaten at Cheltenham before they are absolute rockets. So yeah, that's the real issue behind him. But hopefully he goes in here. And if you can get any sort of that even money, potentially odds against, then it's well worth it.
You haven't ridden Constitution Hill recently, have you?
No, I'm not taking I was going to say the fall for that, but pun not intended. I am not taking the rap for that whatsoever. For Constitution Hill, no, goodness me, you don't want to let me near him, bless him.
I hope you weren't anywhere near my nap stroll on by. He was just falling in a 3-runner handicap chase at Leicester.
Oh no, I was wondering what all the action was in the background there. Oh no, you and Foolers at the minute.
We got a chance there. It was about a 6-1 outsider of 3 on the exchanges, and then was trading about 5-2 in running, I think, when hitting the deck. So I hope horse and jockey are okay.
Yeah, hopefully everyone is all okay, and your run of Foolers at present seems to continue, Andrew, from Saturday. So yeah, touch wood that everyone is all okay there. That was the Tingle Creek, though. Do let us know in the comments section below who you are sided with for the Grade 1 contest, as we head back to Aintree again for the 3:15, another handicap hurdle, 4-year-olds and older, over 2 mile 4. They don't get much easier according to the betting, though, these handicaps. 5-1 the field, joint favourites Wellington, Arch and Bear Market here, Dave.
Yeah, it's a big track, isn't it, Aintree, in terms of the fact that it draws in lots of, I guess, like big owners, big trainers to want to get winners here. So you can see why we've got some depth in the field here. We've got some pretty good horses when you look at the form of them as well. Wellington Arch was highly progressive last season. Took the scalp of Copec Demi at Aintree after that horse faltered at Cheltenham before, but ran pretty well here, to be fair. And then ran pretty well at Punchestown after as well. So my only, I guess, niggle with him is maybe did he do most of his progression last year? And also he looked like he probably needed his run first time out last season. But then when you've got these progressive types from certain yards, maybe they look like they need their first run because they want him to look like that. So I can see the case of Wellington Arch runs well, probably will be somewhere in the frame. But I found it interesting with sort of Ollie Murphy's battalion in here. I can't make a case for brewing up a storm as much as I want to. He's a course and distance winner. The massive layoff worries me slightly, but he's really, really old now as well, isn't he? But I'll need to get him mentioned. It could be a try cast for the Murphy yard, maybe. Active Authority was only beaten by Woodhoo in the Martin Pipe at Cheltenham, which I think is rock solid form. Not entirely sure that the 3 miles they've tried him at the last twice is what he needs. Got beat by Deep Cave the time straight after at Aintree, which actually isn't terrible form. One last time out, didn't really fill me with any inspiration. And I feel like if they were doing anything by design, dropping him back to this trip would come when it was maybe a bigger stature race. So he's interesting. I can make a bit of a case for him, and he probably could run well if I take my conspiracy theory tinfoil hat off. The one that I do quite like a bit, though, I think is fairly solid in terms of the fact that there's no reason for this horse to be being held onto for anything else, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm not suggesting that all of them are in this field, but Rambo T beat Pagain at Chepstow at the start of the season. Pagain, she's come out and won emphatically over fences a couple of times after. That was a race that was over hurdle still, but she was 50-1 that day. I think the form for people looking at it would say, well, you've beaten a 50-1 rag, but I think she was just showing signs that she's actually running well again. And whenever I see James Bowen riding instead of his brother Sean, it's not even that often that it happens, but I always sort of, I guess, my eyes light up, because I feel like he must say to him, you need to ride this horse if I can't, because he thinks it's got a proper chance. When Sean Bowen rides a horse and then the next time out, James Bowen rides it, if it's a handicap hurdle, there's been 4 opportunities that's happened since this yard. 2 of them have won. One of the other ones comes second, I think it was. But basically, where they're priced to the market, they're performing 3 times better than they should. It's like a 2.74 actual versus expectation. So I'm going to read into things much more than I probably should be. But Rambo T's got solid enough form around about this trip from the start of the season anyway. James Bowen taking the ride from his brother, I think he's got a proper chance. And like I say, Ollie Murphy's sending a few in here as well, so they can work together as a team maybe. So Rambo T would be my selection for the 315.
I love that we started this with, I'm not going to be a conspiracy theorist. However, and then the whole case was, no, it wasn't the whole case. It's all really good case made there. Rambo T 11-2, already in from 7s to 13-2, 6s, now into 11-2. And Ollie Murphy, another trainer who is mob-handed in one of these Saturday races, Andrew, and he's got a few in here, including the old boy brewing up a storm.
Yeah, cracking race this. It's been a good race for those near the head of the betting. 9 of the past 10 winners were from the front 3 in the market. We've got 5 horses priced between 5-1 and 6-1 at the moment. One of those is Bear Market, who won in the first time tongue car in his final start for Nicky Henderson. Then joined Mel Rowley and won at Southwell over the fixed brush type hurdles last time out. Jumped out to his right that day, but when he won here for Henderson on his penultimate start, he jumped absolutely fine on the left-handed track. Now, it was weird last time at Southwell, that 14th of November meeting, there was a massive swamp on the inside. Bear Market set out to make the running on the inner, but by jumping out to the right, he did sort of get out of the swamp, and he was sort of like in the middle of the track in the closing stages. So I'm trying to work out whether it was a run worth upgrading because he started off in the swamp, or downgrading, or maybe just leaving it alone. So, but he's 2 from 2 in a tongue tie, so I thought he'd go well. Rambo T is another one I like because of the form of that silver trophy at Chepstow. Almost called it the Tote Silver Trophy, not anymore. We know that's worked out phenomenally well because he won that, which was a slight surprise to Ollie Murphy in the post-race interview, apparently. And of course, as well as Pagan, the 4th home, ID Woods won since. Take No Chances, ran well behind strong leader Josh the Boss, who was a big favourite back in 8th. He's come out and won since. Friendship, of course, fell in that race, and he's won twice since, including for Dave. I think it napped him last week. Active Authority, another one ahead of the betting. He's got a good record second time out. He's won second time out in each of the last 2 seasons. Now, when he ran in the Pertemps qualifier behind Haiti Couleur on his reappearance, he was given plenty to do. And, when you needed to be up with the pace, the winner and second were always on the front end. So I've sort of, Rubber Ball, the other one has been well back, but I thought Rubber Ball needed to bounce back.
Hey.
From his comprehensive defeat in the Great Wood, and he's trying a new trip. So, I was just... So I can make cases for Bear Market, Rambo T, Active Authority, but I'll go for the Ollie Murphy pair, Rambo T and Active Authority. Split stakes between those 2.
Yeah, and only half a point separating them at the time recording as well. But I love that. Just anything to try and crowbar a pun in. We are all about that. case to one side at that point, who cares? But yeah, Robert Paul, to be fair, he actually does need to, doesn't he? In all seriousness, bounce back 6-1 though. But yeah, Ollie Murphy looks to have a really strong hand in that 3.15 at Aintree, 3.35 at Sandown. London National handicap chase 0 to 150, 5-year-olds and older, over 3 mile 4.5 furlongs, 11 for the field. O'Connell it is who heads away in this one, Andrew. So again, we don't have as big a field as we have got in previous years for this race, just for 7 runners. So disappointing, but O'Connell it is who heads away.
Yeah, not been a good race for favourites. The last 10 renewals, I've added in the 2014 running because 2019 was a void race. So market leaders, including joint favourites, 0 from 12. Real mixed bag of ages between 7 and 12. Running style, it's been a good race for front runners. 12 horses made the running or disputed the lead. 5 of those won for a profit of £34.50. 3 winners were prominent. Only 2 from 50 hold-up horses were winning this. And so running style last time out has been a good pointer. Horses who led or raced prominently last time have won 7 of the past 10 renewals. A class 1 prep has also been a good pointer. Now O'Connell is a couple of, he did win on his sole visit here. He's trained by an informed yard. He probably would have needed that comeback run because he ran behind Sound and Fury, a race I touched on earlier with the Beecher. He was sort of ridden patiently in that race as well, not ideal. And he finished just ahead of Western in the Park and Galia des Litos. So you might find that form is franked in the Beecher if I'm right about that race. But if he's ridden patiently here, I can sort of leave him alone, and particularly as he's 11-4. I did want to be against Ars Brewster as well. This is a horse I put up in the GG Jumps preview as a potential dark horse for the Cheltenham Festival, given his good record on decent ground, with all his wins coming from March to October. So I was quite surprised they haven't put him away for the winter break before bringing him back in the spring. He won well on fast ground at Chepstow on October the 11th, but he tends to go off the boil from now on. And I would be surprised if he could, back that up. Yet to say that, he's trained by informed Evan Williams, Harry Cobden on board, and he's been backed into 7-2. Tanganyika for Venetia Williams is a horse I did bet first time out. But like most of the yards runners at the time, was needing the run, travelled pretty well before emptying, finishing 5th to Marble Sands in that 3 mile, 3.5 handicap chase at Cheltenham's open meeting in mid-November. I think he'll improve for that. Got a lot of weight, but he should be fairly prominent as well. Chased home Mr. Vango in the slot at Uttoxeter in the Midlands Grand National, his penultimate start. It was officially good to soft, but it was actually heavy according to Proform that day. So the more rain won't hurt him. Jupiter Allen, I'll be giving a cheer to if he wins for Chester Williams, but I'll go Tanganyika, and I'll probably just have him in a forecast with O'Connell as well.
A staying horse in the mud around Sandown? Yeah, that's perfect for trainer Venetia Williams, of another good challenger in this race. Tanganyika's currently 7-2 now, actually. Charlie Deutsch taking the ride, carrying 12 stone around there over 3 mile, 4.5 furlongs as well, Dave. Who are you siding with in the London National?
I've found one, I think, in the race. This wouldn't be, again, another typical race I'd go looking to try and find a winner in it. I've had opinions in the past, and sometimes I feel like I get it wrong because I try and get over sort of analytical with some of these ones. Paul Nicholls does seem to do quite well in this race. He hasn't got a run this year, which has saved me because I fancied one of his last year that I don't think was ever really put into it, but the horse just isn't really up to much since. Harry Cobden does mean that he's free, though, to ride Ars Brewster, that, like Andrew mentions, on his horse to follow type stuff. Might be the case that they're trying to get this horse to run a big race here, regardless of whether he wins or not, to maybe get his mark up for some of those spring festivals. He's definitely a 6-year-old going places. I do agree with what Andrew said there about the type of ground as well. Like if there's bits of rain about and Sandown can be quite soft, it's going to be chewed up ground, isn't it, after a couple of days racing? Could be tricky, but interestingly, last time out winners are profitable to back blind in this race. In its history, I think there's been 31 runners, 5 winners, and it's a 25% return on investment. So using that as a slight in, it brings in Invincible now for Gary and Josh Moore. He's got unfinished business, I think, in these contests. He was pulled up last March in the Midlands National and only sent off about 8-1, but I'm just not convinced he's actually got the form in the book to say that he's going to win over this sort of trip. Hung Jury would be the other one that was a last time out winner. And if you couple this horse with the fact that he's a 10-year-old, or even without 10-year-olds, 10-year-olds are profitable to back blind in this race. They got 4 wins from 28 runners of 35% return on investment. He's a horse that's very capable on varying ground as well. Comes in here obviously with that win, which is good form coming in here. I do like Tanganyika. I put this one up last time as well. Venetia Williams sort of only does okay in this race. I think it's 1 win from maybe 11. Charlie Deutschweiden's got 1 from 5, which is profitable. I'm still not entirely sure that she's firing at the moment, but obviously it's just going to take 1 to go in, and she definitely looks like she's turning a corner. He might just be a little bit skinny in the price, I think. There's other factors you can put in there as well, like 11 of the 20 winners have run between 16 and 30 days ago, so that is a negative for Arse Brewster and O'Connell towards the front of the market. There's runners between 13 to 2 and 12 to 1, I think it was. If you back them blind, it's nearly 100% return on investment. So there's just lots of things that point towards Hung Jury being the most sensible option to play in this sort of super marathon distance race. Looking forward to watching it. I'll be looking forward to see how a few horses finish in behind as well, because there's lots of staying handicap chases through the season, isn't there, where this could be a setup run for them. But I see no reason why they'd be waiting for Hung Jury to do anything else. So Hung Jury for me.
15 to 2, Jonbon riding for Martin Keithley. What a potent combination that is for the 10-year-old now, Hung Jury, as well. Right, that is the end of the ITV scheduled races. So, Dave, I'll go back to you, please. Anything from anywhere else?
Not at the moment, no. There's some real good races everywhere. I've already mentioned Nav, and we've got a real good card on Sunday from a few places. No more than Cork as well with the Hiddyway Chase, but nothing as it stands at the moment from anywhere else.
But again, do make sure then to watch out for Dave's socials and also columns and everything else for any further selections from the lads. Andrew, anything from anywhere else from you?
Yes, one I'm very excited about, and as you know, I very rarely get excited these days. It can be dangerous at my age, and it's one of my trend horses from a couple of years ago, and Making Your Mind Up. One of my favourite horses, and also my favourite Bucks Fizz song. So
name the others. Name any other song from them.
Land of Make Believe.
Oh, I'm not going to fact check it, so I'll take your word.
My camera never lies. Come on, there's a pop master here, 3 and 10. So, but yeah, he can't operate right-handed. Since his race course debut, it's a rules debut when he was 6th at the Chepstow Bumper. He's had 6 goes left-handed, 5 wins, and a second by a head when being by Captain Nord, caught in the final strides at Plumpton, where the sharp track wasn't ideal for him. Now you look at his wins: Newbury, Haydock, Chepstow. What do you notice? Wide galloping left-handed tracks. So he's won here twice before. He's had a wind operation, been off the track for 615 days, but if the market speaks in his favour, I shall be joining in. This is the Welsh Grand National Trial, so I'd like to see him run a big race in this and then go for the big one at the end of the month.
Yes, there you go. Then we know that the trial to the main event itself is translated really well in recent years, so looking forward to that one. Nap time then, Andrew. I'll go back to you. Is that going to be your nap?
No, I was going to go, but I'm going for Knickerbockerglory at Sandown.
Oh, beautiful. Where Dan Skelton has 3 horses in that race, I believe, all with funky names. So yeah, Knickerbockerglory though it is. But Andrew, is his nap, Dave?
Yeah, Knickerbockerglory was on the short list for me, and after Amsterdam last week doing everything right apart from trying to bite Golden Ace at the end, I always say, didn't I, want to have the horse with the least amount of excuses for them. I would have no excuse for Ilete Thompson to not win the Tingle Creek. So I know he's a bit of a short one, but he would definitely be my best bet on Saturday.
Lovely job. Yeah, and we always say this, don't we? Just if a horse is a shade of odds on, or even more so odds on, does not mean that they're not value. Like, there isn't just a black and white approach to this, and he has no excuses, as Dave has just said there, and does actually look a pretty fair price at the time of recording. Right, lads, thank you so much to the pair of you two for all of your hard work as per usual. Big thank you to you for watching. Make sure to get involved in the comments section below with any of your selections this weekend. Best of luck with your bets, and we'll speak to you again next week.